Jack, we're back. Welcome to another Mayor's Hour. This could be one of the most important shows that we do all year.
Yeah, this one has a lot of significance because we are into the hurricane season now, and it kind of reminds me, with the people who've been around here for a long time, particularly if they've been here since 2004 and before that, it's almost like getting on an airplane when you're a regular flyer and you hear the setup, the safety setup, please buckle your buckle, blah, 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 the thing dropped down and everything else.
I think because we all ignore.
Yeah, people are deaf ears. They don't pay any attention to it because they think, first of all, they think it's probably not going to happen to me, and secondly, I'll deal with it when it comes.
Oh, that's very true, and that's part of why we're going to do this this show here during the Hurricane Expo here at MOSI. Is just you've got to remind people every year that they've got to take preparations, they've got to be ready, they've got to anticipate storms coming, and they can't ignore them. Just because you've lived here for generations and Tampa Bay hasn't been hit in 90 years, we still need to prepare every year.
Yeah, we got a wake-up call, I think, with Hurricane Elena way back when in the 1980s.
Yeah.
And,
the four
and
of them,
of course,
Charlie.
Yeah, when we got the four in 2004, and I remember them very well. They all hit on the weekend. Ruined every weekend for the whole month there. But
well, and you remember during the RNC 2 years ago, I mean, we were this far away from taking a hit.
That's true.
And fortunately, the gods were smiling and it veered away. But this show is important. We have a lot of fun here, but this I want you to pay attention to, and we're not messing around. And the people that you're going to hear from today, you need to remember this stuff. We need to start creating those lists. So please pay attention to this show and take preparations, and let's get ready and make sure your family's safe.
And tell your friends about it too.
Absolutely.
And they can catch it as well on YouTube.
Absolutely. So we'll be right back. We've got some great folks, some emergency preparedness people. We got some of the NOAA pilots. It's really going to be a great show. So stay with us and listen. Johnny, you're making me proud. That's a good thing. Giving it up. Let's fight to the death, all right? All right, yeah! 2, 3. Wow. Jackets will fully inflate and you're ready to enter the water. I am. Jack, we're back with one of the people that helps the city of Tampa execute its emergency preparedness plan. She is intimately involved not only in this event, but every day getting us ready and preparing us and making sure that we have all the tools and training in place. Chauncia Willis, nice to have you here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
So you're going to be a busy person, I guess, for the next 4 months as we go through the heart of the hurricane season. But around here, generally, it's in August and September, isn't it?
Yes, it kind of heats up and gets a little busier towards the end of hurricane season. Of course, hurricane season ends on November 30th.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you've got a while yet before you really expect to go to work, but in the meantime, just getting people prepared is the big deal.
Well, to be quite honest, we are working year-round to prepare for hurricane season. We are working and building relationships so that if anything does occur, especially here in the Tampa Bay area, we have the partnerships in alignment all over the country to respond effectively. So we work year-round for hurricane season and really for any disaster that occurs.
Well, Jack and I know what you do, but for the sake of the viewers, tell us what your job entails.
Well, I have the best job in the city.
No,
well,
I do.
Other than yours, okay.
I do.
It's a really great job. It allows us the opportunity to go out into the community. We do a lot of community outreach. Our main job is to prepare our residents, our businesses, and also our city government employees for any hazard that could occur. Whether it's flash flooding, whether it's a hurricane, a tornado, even a chemical incident, we do all hazard preparedness year-round. And so all of us are trained, certified emergency managers. So this is what we do, and I think it's the best job in the city, next to his.
Next to his, second best job in the city.
Second best job.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's not just hurricanes. You all are out there for, again, when you do have flash flooding and in the event that something happened at the port or God forbid some kind of incident happen in town or something like that.
Right, we are ready to go. We prepare year-round, as I said, but it could be a public health incident. We respond to those as well. So it's really about educating the public, making sure that the Tampa Bay area is as resilient as possible, but also making sure that our partners in other states know that we're here and they know how to reach us. So we spend a lot of time building those partnerships all throughout the country.
So in terms of hurricane preparation, and this for mayors, Jack, particularly Gulf Coast mayors, is our worst nightmare.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is the one thing that we can't control, but that we live in fear of every day because, you can train and train and train and be ready. But when it occurs, you don't have any control over it. And then you train for what you do in the aftermath. But for Gulf Coast mayors, this is what I fear more than anything in the world. So tell us how we prepare for this.
Well, hurricanes, as you said, are sometimes very unpredictable, but for us who are in the Gulf Coast, we can actually receive warning. So what we do to prepare for this is we make sure that our residents know what to look for. We make sure they're connected. Alert Tampa, which is our mass notification system for the city, is really our pipeline to make sure residents and businesses are receiving critical information. Also, we partner with the National Weather Service and we host great events like this to provide that one-on-one, face-to-face contact with the residents, businesses, and employees of the city to make sure they're prepared. It's really about being resilient. And
I like that word, resilient, to be a resilient city. It's better than impervious that I use on the air all the time. Oh, we're impervious, don't worry about it. But in the event, it does come.
Right, resilient. That really is what we're striving towards. We're trying to be as ready as possible, and we do that year-round because we prepare as if it were our families. We teach and train so that we can make sure that everyone has a fair chance of surviving the storm. And they can be very unpredictable, as we said, but the more you know, the better decisions you'll make.
So walk us through that decision-making process. What should somebody watching this show today do to prepare for this?
Well, the first thing is a hurricane. The first thing you should do to prepare for a hurricane is realize that it can happen to you and make it personal. That's why we ask, are you ready? Are you ready? Because we need you to be accountable for your family, for yourself, but also your pets. And we need you to prepare to take care of your household. And so the best thing you can do to prepare for a hurricane is to make sure your mindset is focused on preparedness. Oftentimes, if a hurricane hasn't happened in many years, people become very complacent and they begin to think that it can't happen to me and it can't happen here.
We're impervious. Yeah.
We're impervious, and we are not. We're actually number one in terms of vulnerability, this Tampa Bay area.
Say that again.
We're number one in terms of vulnerability in this Tampa Bay area.
And that is based on the fact that we have not been hit in 90 plus years, that the likelihood of it happening to us is greater.
And there's such an obvious target in the Gulf of Mexico because of weather patterns or because of climatic patterns that would naturally steer these storms in our direction.
Exactly. And the other thing that makes us particularly vulnerable is that we are 1,300%, our population has increased 1,300% since 1921, which was the last hurricane that really hit the Tampa Bay area. 1,300%. That means that many more people are living on the Gulf Coast in Tampa Bay now.
Right, and with the bulk of that population being closer to the water than ever before.
Yes.
Whether it's Pinellas County or whether it's on Hillsborough Bay in South Tampa, downtown.
Right, so we want everyone to realize that it can happen to you. It can happen this season. I know they are predicting a slower than average season, but that really has
they have no clue as to what it's going to be.
I think Hurricane Katrina during that year, it was a slower than average season,
my annual prediction is 12-8-3, and I come closer than those guys do. And I just stay with 12-8-3. I'm predicting that for next year and the year after, too.
I don't know how factual that is, but I guess you've been lucky thus far.
I've been checking it out. I'm staying ahead of them.
So, storm surge.
Storm surge. Oh, my goodness. It can be deadly. And what we found is that most people don't really know what it is. It's really the water coming in into your property. And we're developing all kinds of products with the National Weather Service to be able to predict by location the amount of water you could expect.
So living on Davis Island, I can expect to be gone.
Yes.
You should expect to be gone, right?
Yeah.
You should expect to be gone. But one of the other things in terms of preparedness for a hurricane, one of the things we also stress is making sure that you have enough food, 3 days supply of food and water, and also all of those other things that you might need to sustain you throughout a hurricane.
Tell us about the list. I mean, every family should have a list. And
Right.
what should that list include?
Okay, that is the Family Disaster Preparedness Plan. It includes a communications plan and your disaster supply kit.
Okay.
It should have in it a communications plan for your family in case the disaster strikes when you're not together.
Right.
Oftentimes, people don't realize that it could happen and you're not with your child. You're not with your mom. They're somewhere else. So have a relative that lives out of state or a family friend or someone that lives out of this area that everyone knows to contact, and make sure that everyone checks in.
Okay.
The other thing is to know your evacuation zone if you need to evacuate, because here in this area, of course, it's run from the water, hide from the wind, and you don't need to leave the state. You just need to go 60 miles inland. 60 miles inland. It's that storm surge we just spoke about.
Keep an eye on where the storm goes, because we remember with Charlie, everybody headed in, and all of a sudden they got caught in Charlie.
We've got a great young assistant here to help us.
We certainly do that.
Now,
That's awesome.
you talked about having a plan, have food resources ready.
Right.
Anticipate you're not going to have power, you're not going to have any ability to get food. So tell us what we have here. What is this?
Well, here I have a meal ready to eat. It's an MRE, and it's not a military issue. These are actually purchased. You can purchase them online by the case. So we recommend that families get these. And inside of this meal ready to eat, you'll see that you have an entree, you have a dessert, you just need some water, and you're good to go. And it will sustain you.
I'm sure this is better than the rubber chicken that I have to eat every day,
Yeah,
3 or 4 times a day.
It could be, I don't know. But it's about 1,200 calories, so you really only need one.
And how much do these cost?
Well, they're sold by the case. So
Okay.
one case is about $70, and there are 12 meals in a case. So you have a 3-day supply at least right there for a family of 4. So
right.
that's a meal ready to eat.
What is this?
And here we have some items, and once again, we received donations for these items, but this is a hygiene kit. It was donated to us by Walgreens, but inside you have deodorant, shaving cream, toothpaste, a toothbrush, shampoo, a towelette, and we're giving these away today at the Hurricane Expo as a part of a family disaster kit.
That's nice.
All right. Well, Chauncia, thanks. You're going to be busy over the next couple months.
Yes, very busy.
We'll be talking to you on the radio, I'm afraid, if we do get those storms coming around.
And the lesson for everyone watching is you play the way you train.
Right.
So train for this. Be prepared, have your food, have your comfort kit, have your plan, your communications plan, how to secure your house. Get ready. This is serious stuff. We're not messing around here. I can't tell you how serious this is, so be ready. We'll be right back with some other experts. Hi, I'm Bob Buckhorn. As the mayor of Tampa, one of my most important responsibilities is to keep our residents safe. Hurricane season is here. I want to stress how important it is to be prepared, to have a plan, and to stay informed. When severe weather is pounding our area or an evacuation order is issued for your neighborhood, you need the official information from your city right away. When you sign up for Alert Tampa, the city's official emergency alert system, time-sensitive notifications will be sent directly to your email, cell phone, and in some cases, your home phone. If you live or work in Tampa, sign up today. Registering for Alert Tampa is free and it's easy. Go to our website at tampagov.net/Alert Tampa or call 813-231-6184. Alert Tampa, official information you can use to keep your business, your home, and your family safe. Sign up today to stay connected. Have you got your list ready yet? I told you to get your list ready. You need to get your list ready. Jack, we're back. That was pretty interesting stuff.
It is. And you know, when you consider, too, we keep talking about hurricanes, but tropical storms can be devastating. Anything that has that wind and everything, anything over 40-mile-an-hour winds when it gets up to there, because we saw what happened with Sandy up in the Northeast. I mean, it was tropical storm force, as I recall, when it actually struck up there. But
well, we are here with Brian LaMarre, who is the meteorologist-in-charge of the National Weather Service here in the Tampa Bay area. He is the go-to guy during storms. He has been around for a while. A lot of us rely very heavily on his advice and that of the National Weather Service. Brian, thanks for joining us today. Yeah. What exactly do you do for a living?
Okay, well,
I just gave you a great run-up, but
exactly. What we do at the National Weather Service is our job really 24/7, 7 days out of the week, 365 days out of the year. We're here to protect lives. And so basically we're monitoring the weather conditions across 15 counties across Florida, mainly focusing on Tampa Bay in this area this time of year, looking at hurricane development, and also looking at severe thunderstorm development. We had a tornado touchdown recently in Riverview that we're looking at. So again, our job is really to provide information to the public to make sure they can be safe.
In real time?
In real time. So we're looking at satellite data, radar data, we're looking at high-tech computer models, we're taking information from city officials, county officials, and we're putting it all together to make sure that we have the best possible warning and forecast information.
And is your recommendation to evacuate or not, the severity of the storm, sort of the final word? I mean, you guys are in charge, at least in terms of giving us recommendations as to how to execute.
Exactly. What you said right there is the big thing, especially with storm surge information. That's going to be huge this year, but we're going to give the information to city officials to make sure that they have the most accurate data to make sure that they can issue evacuation orders. So again, when we talk about storm surge, it's the #1 killer from a hurricane, and for the first time ever, the National Weather Service is going to be providing very detailed graphics this year for inundation or storm surge flooding. It's going to show people how much water above ground level they can expect potentially from a storm right at their house.
And is that based on computer modeling? I mean, how would you do that? Because that's very important.
It is. It's a close relationship we have with the National Hurricane Center in Miami. So what we're doing is we'll isolate a certain part of the coastline that we feel should be under a storm surge warning. We send it to the National Hurricane Center, they run the computer models, it then projects how much water potentially could flood an area. And we're going to have a graphic this year that's going to show people how much water they can expect in their area.
And that surge, again, is what you get as a part of the storm with the water coming in from the Gulf of Mexico or even Hillsborough Bay or wherever it might be in Tampa Bay.
That's right, Jack.
Yeah.
And so basically it's a combination of the wind that generates the water that's part of the storm surge. Also, it's going to be based on the worst case scenario that's going to occur during high tide. So we're going to have the tropical storm or a hurricane coming our way. We're going to provide that graphic that'll show the worst case of how much water could impact the area at high tide. That way people will have how much information they're going to get, how much water is going to impact their area.
And does the saturation of the landmass, because you get a lot of rain in advance of the eye wall coming, that obviously affects the ability of the earth to absorb any of it, right?
Right.
So if it's full, you got a high tide and the moons are right, I mean, it's potential for catastrophic damage.
Yeah, and so that's what we're looking at this year. And we are seeing that already because we're starting the wet season at a very wet note because we ended the dry season very wet. And so we're seeing a lot of rainfall across the area. I think the ground has been able to absorb it. But what we're looking at, like we saw last June, Tropical Storm Andrea. In 2012, we had Tropical Storm Debbie produce more flooding in this area than some Category 1 hurricanes. So it's something to remember that it doesn't matter if it's a tropical storm or a hurricane. You got to listen to city officials. If they say evacuate, then get out of the area.
And I read statistics just yesterday that 1 in 5 people are going to refuse to evacuate regardless of the threat. They just don't want to leave. They don't want to leave their home, or they put their property value above their lives, apparently.
It's a good point because it's been a very long time since this area has had a direct hit from a major hurricane. And when I say major hurricane, it's Category 3 or greater, on the scale of 1 through 5. The last time we had a Category 3 hurricane hit this area directly, we were not around. None of us in this area were around. October 25th, 1921. So over 90 years it's been. So public complacency is up. People do not realize what a major hurricane can do to this area.
All right, listen carefully, please. Storm surge, Category 2 or 3 storm, coming into Hillsborough Bay, downtown Tampa, and Hyde Park. Listen.
It would be a disaster in this area. We have not seen that in many years, as I mentioned, but if we're looking at a Category 1 hurricane making landfall just north of Tampa Bay, say for example near Tarpon Springs, just north of Tampa Bay, the winds around the hurricane funnel all of the water up into Tampa Bay, Old Tampa Bay, Hillsborough
Because it's coming
Bay.
in a reverse clockwise manner, right? So
Exactly.
It's pushing all the water up the bay, yeah.
Exactly, and so a Category 1 hurricane at high tide will produce anywhere from 1 to 3 feet of water on the entranceway of I-275 coming into over the bridge of the Howard Franklin. So again, that access way will be cut off with a Category 1. So again, if we're looking at Category 2, 3, 4, 5, it could definitely be devastation in downtown Tampa.
So could you see potentially storm surge going as far as Kennedy Boulevard in a Category 3 if it came right up the bay?
Yeah, what we're looking at with a Category 3, 4, 5, if we're looking at high tide, when that hurricane makes landfall, the water is actually going to be funneling up into Tampa Bay, up the Hillsborough River, and we're going to see flooding on the west side of Tampa International Airport. We're going to see flooding on the west end of Kennedy. So again, if you're looking at a major hurricane, that area will be isolated and be underwater.
How deep in downtown would downtown Tampa be underwater?
It depends on the exact track of the
Worst case
hurricane, but if you're looking at the worst case scenario of a Category 5 hitting the Tampa Bay area, you could have as much water as 15 to 20 feet in downtown Tampa from MacDill Air Force Base on the way up into the southern part of downtown Tampa.
Wow, that's incredible. And the closest thing we have, those who have been here for a little while, I mean, we haven't been around since 21, as you pointed out, but it would be Elena, and that thing was 200 miles offshore, but it was located in just such a position that it was the worst possible for us because we had to evacuate. I was on Davis Islands and had to evacuate.
It was in 1985, as you mentioned, Jack. I mean, Hurricane Elena was just spinning off our coast. It never made landfall in our direct area, but because it was out there for so long, it was actually doing a loop in that area. Yeah. We had a lot of wind damage in Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, downtown Tampa, and during high tide, a lot of flooding did come in, and it was trapped in Tampa Bay because the way the circulation, as you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, that the water could not come out of Tampa Bay. So again, it's another thing that we have to think of based on the track, the intensity, and how strong the winds are. Those are the elements that'll show us how much water are we going to get.
So how can people access your information, your real-time alerts?
Our real-time information will be accessed on weather.gov/Tampa. That's going to be the National Weather Service Tampa Bay page. But this day and age, a lot of people have cell phones, they're on social media. Again, search for us on Facebook, National Weather Service Tampa Bay, and on Twitter. We're providing a lot of information on Facebook, and we're tweeting information on warnings, on hurricane safety. We just ended Hurricane Preparedness Week this past week, and all the information and safety videos we put on Facebook and on Twitter. So again, social media has been an amazing opportunity for the National Weather Service in Tampa to get information out to people that we've never reached before.
And of course, during a hurricane, I hate to plug our own medium here, but 970 WFLA is important because a lot of TV, you're going to lose electricity, things
Towers
like that.
down.
You need that portable radio or the iHeart radio or something like that because we are in constant contact with the National Weather Service, with the emergency management people, and things like that. And the thing I love about the work that you guys do, and we will be calling on you every time one gets out there, they explain it in terms that the layperson can understand.
Brian's very good at that.
Yeah, it's not just in technical terms, well, we've got a wind shear that's doing this and blah, blah, blah. It's like you're going to have a surge of water. It's going to come in, you're going to have flooding, you're going to have this, going to have that, or whatever it might be, which is great.
Brian, reiterate for people how important it is to pay attention to the mayor or the county administrator or whomever when that evacuation alert is given. When people see me stand up there and say, folks, it's time to leave, we're serious. And we're basing that on a lot of your information.
Right. The data really that we provide represents the foundation, but the decision-making capability rests with you. And if you're telling people to evacuate, people need to listen because it's going to protect their lives. We saw a lot of deaths in storm surge when it came to Hurricane Katrina, Hurricane Ike, Hurricane Sandy, and even Hurricane Irene over the past handful of years. One day it's going to happen in Tampa, and if you're telling people to evacuate, it means that life and death situation is at hand. So again, evacuation orders, listen to them, get out of the area. It also enables emergency response officials to get into the area to help people that may need medical attention. So again, evacuation orders, listen to them, and go to a place of safety.
And folks understand, when you hear me say evacuate, I'd rather you be alive and inconvenienced than dead. So even if the storm were to pass, and everyone was okay and able to come back, that may not always be the case. So when you hear the mayor or whomever say it's time to go, you really need to pay attention. And if I inconvenience you and it doesn't happen, I'm sorry. I'm telling you right now, I'm sorry. But I'd rather have you alive than have to go get your body out of your house because you didn't listen to me.
Yeah, and again, we're going to be calling on you a lot. Just out of curiosity, what did it take to become a meteorologist to do what you're doing at the National Weather Service?
You flunked physics.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, typically a lot of people think meteorology is nothing to do with science or physics, but meteorology is really all about math and physics. And so at least you have to have a bachelor's degree in meteorology. We have folks at the National Weather Service office in Tampa that have master's degrees. We have PhD degree. But again, at least a bachelor's degree in atmospheric science. And basically you can apply to the National Weather Service and hopefully have a prospering career.
Yeah, that's great.
People see the guys on TV, and we're going to meet one of them here in just a few minutes, or see one of them in a few minutes. But I've often wondered when I talk to you guys out there, I thought, man, they really know their stuff. I mean,
it's a good point, because it's a strong partnership that we have with the folks in Tampa Bay media, and we can't do it without them, because we're going to provide the information, but the media and the mayor can reach more people than we could ever hope to reach. We have NOAA Weather Radio, we have social media, but again, we try to ensure that people have weather radios as much as they can have them, but not many people have them that we'd like to see. So again, NOAA Weather Radio can actually be a critical piece to your hurricane safety kit, because when power goes out, your cell phone may die, you're not going to be able to get on television, you may have batteries for radio, but again, a NOAA Weather Radio is battery powered, and it was critical when Hurricane Charlie made landfall in 2004 down in the Punta Gorda area. So people were able to get life-saving information because they have a NOAA Weather Radio.
All right, well, Brian, thanks. Keep your fingers crossed for a slow season.
Exactly.
we'll be talking to you, unfortunately, every time one comes out there.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So pay attention to what he says if you see him on TV. We'll be right back. We've got one of the local weather folks here, good friend of ours, Paul Dellegatto. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
Welcome back. We have one of the stars of the meteorological.
Anything jickle works.
Yeah, anything. Paul Dellegatto, who has been on the air at Channel 13 for how many years?
24 years.
24 years. I remember, Paul, when we were both single and running around town together, and you weren't far behind.
That's true.
And so he's a guy that's an institution here in the Tampa Bay area and has given a lot of us a lot of guidance over the years. And actually, I was told earlier, you pioneered that spaghetti model?
First one to show it on television in the entire country, and now it literally is on every TV station, every cable network around.
Did you trademark it? Do you get any royalties?
But I tell you, the National Hurricane Center was not very happy, because they felt as though we were taking some of their thunder, and also putting out information that people really have to look at and understand what they exactly mean. And you just can't throw models on and say the storm's going this way. You kind of have to explain what's happening.
So tell us what you do. I mean, tell us, particularly in the context of hurricanes.
Well, I tell you, it's one of those things where there's so many different factors to consider. I mean, obviously the number one thing that we do is to alert the people and let people know, the viewers know, that something is coming our way. But we also want to make sure that we're not over-alarming. And that's the big thing. I mean, a lot of people see a hurricane that's spinning down by the Cayman Islands or in Cuba, and they see the big spin, they see the eye, and they go, oh, it's going to come this way, we're in big danger. So it's kind of a balancing act. You want people to be prepared, but you never want to cry wolf. So it's all about preparation. You also have to go, this is the time of year in June where it really is all about preparation. You have to have a plan. You don't want to be standing in line at a Home Depot 2 hours before a hurricane is approaching. So for our angle, it really is about preparation.
And our real hurricane season doesn't kick in pretty much until August or late July and August.
It seems like there's always one early in June.
Yeah.
And then there's usually a lull, and then we get into the meat of the season, which is August and September. And then, believe it or not, there's another big uptick that actually happens in November. So we can get and what happens in November is you get cold fronts that go into the Gulf of Mexico. They'll sit, and on occasion you can get a hurricane form on a dying cold front in mid-November. So it's, it's nonstop. It really is.
We were talking earlier, for a mayor, I mean, that is my worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah, it has to be.
I mean, because you can't control it.
Right.
You can train and prepare for it and prepare for the aftermath, but you have no control over it. And the potential, obviously, if you look at Katrina as a model, from a mayor's perspective of how not to handle it.
Right.
We learn from those mayors that do it right and mayors that do it poorly. Talk to us about the technology that you have, which has changed a lot over the years.
It's changed a lot. Well, I think the big thing is the experience factor that comes into play, and a lot of it is the computer modeling is unbelievable. I mean, you look back on how we predicted storms the past 10 years, and you can mention a couple that went a little bit this way, a little bit that way, but I mean, the forecasting tracking, the tracking forecast is really unbelievable. I mean, even think about what Sandy did. I mean, we had Sandy going into New Jersey when it was basically east of Florida and coming up the coast. So the track forecasting is unbelievable. The problem we have is the intensity forecasting. We still don't know when we have a storm sitting 1,000 miles away. Will it be a Category 2? Will it be a Category 3? Will it be a Category 5? And we're still trying to figure out that relationship between the storm and the warm water and how it grabs that energy from the warm water. That's the big challenge, really is the intensity forecasting. My biggest nightmare is being on TV at 11 o'clock, showing a tropical storm in the Gulf and saying, it doesn't look like a big deal, going to bed and waking up it's Category 3. How did that happen? So that's the real big concern we have.
That can happen.
It can happen.
We were talking earlier about some of the new technology with the National Weather Service, though, on being able to talk about the surge and where it's going to bring the water and how badly it's going to impact people.
That's a big deal. And you think about Hurricane Katrina, that was a Category 3 hurricane at landfall and had like a 37-foot storm surge, which is a Category 5 storm surge. And really, that's the big problem, Mayor, is really the water. I mean, you can hide always from the wind. And you can find yourself a well-built home, you're fine, but you can't hide from water.
Well, and the difference between Katrina and Tampa is Katrina tended to affect the impoverished low-income neighborhoods.
Right.
If we get a storm surge, it's hitting the most affluent neighborhoods, downtown Tampa, as well as the beaches on the Pinellas side. I mean, so it's a very, very different dynamic. How do you all work with the Weather Service and NOAA?
I tell you, the relationship is fantastic. And I think we both understand that our number one responsibility is to keep people safe. You're not really talking about a competition here. It really is a matter of how do we get the information out? How do we get out soon? What's the best way of disseminating that information? And our relationship with the folks in Ruskin is great. We're on a constant chat line that we use. We go back and forth. And again, I mean, it's sooner or later the 21 hurricane is going to happen again. Hopefully, it's not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, not while I'm there.
Right. We just want to be ready and just let people know what they have to do. The problem now is it's been a long time. I mean, we're getting a little bit of hurricane fatigue. It's been 04, 05 since we've really been hit, and I think that's the big trouble is you go through a recession, people kind of forget what's happening, and just keeping the alert factor high.
And I think what you said earlier is key, though. You can't cry wolf because then people say, oh, we've seen that before, we've seen that
that's
before,
the problem.
we've heard that before,
But that's a fine line.
It is a fine line.
Same for me on the evacuation orders. I've said it a number of times, I'd rather people be inconvenienced than dead. But it's a fine line because my credibility's on the line.
Sure. Look what happened during Charlie. We had the line going through Tampa. Literally, it was over my house for 2 straight days. And what are we saying? Go to Orlando. Go inland. Those people go to Orlando. They're in a hotel. They wake up and the winds are 110 miles an hour outside, and they're going. You told me to leave Tampa, and I'm in Orlando. Now the hurricane's here. Talk about hurting credibility.
But they were safe.
But still, they were safe. At the end of the day, it's an interesting story. That's about it.
That was something. I remember we were on the air and we'd gone into a bunker at Verizon in Temple Terrace and broadcasting, and all of a sudden watching you guys and everything, and then all of a sudden you say, whoa, that's moving into Port Charlotte. And after we had run everybody toward Orlando and then right up to Orlando it went. And it's really tough to
You can still see the damage down by Arcadia if you go inland. There are still scars from that hurricane.
and that's the one. And again, we just keep thinking we've got to be due. You can't go forever being as vulnerable as we are on the Gulf of Mexico without at some time getting another 1921 job. And I think Elena maybe came closer than any, as it was 200 miles offshore, and we saw the damage it did.
Even the storm a couple of years ago, so Debbie that sat in the Gulf of Mexico, and you know the thing is about you always want to. My analogy is when you land at TIA and you take the approach where you fly in from Tampa Bay and you look out the window and you see all those homes and they're literally sitting on the water, and you say, so if you added 5 feet of water where those homes are, they're flooded. It doesn't take much. It really doesn't.
Well, I mean, just look at the rainfall we've had now and the flooding. You get the tides and the moon and everything in alignment, and it's going to be a big problem.
On the streets, we aren't as bad as New Orleans, who are below sea level with dikes, but you might want to build dikes.
No. Don't start that.
But you know, one thing, I would much rather have the hurricanes than earthquakes, because
or tornadoes.
There's no warning. Tornadoes, a little bit of warning, but hurricanes, you got a lot of warning. At
least you're not
we
going to be surprised by a hurricane.
Yeah, we're going to hear about it for a long time.
So do you have the ability to hunker down or bunker down at the station?
Well, it's basically, surprisingly, in a worst case scenario, where a Fox 13 is on Kennedy in Tampa, we're at the northern extent of an evacuation zone.
Right.
That's where I think the Cat 5 line
That's
is.
where the surge would come.
So, and the thing is, you stand at the TV station, you say, you mean to tell me that there's a way that the Gulf of Mexico, or the Bay, I should say, is actually going to make it all the way to the TV station? That's the thing about water. It ends up going places you never think water's going to go. And even if it went all the way across Bay to Bay in South Tampa, you still can't believe the water would ever make it that far. But in a worst case scenario, it would. It's a lot of water.
And of course, as you point out, there's so many homes, so many areas that are totally vulnerable that are going to get hit right away with one or maybe even a tropical storm surge.
Yeah, and the best advice is those people is to have a plan, because you don't want to, 2 days before a hurricane is coming, to be calling up the Hampton Inn in Ocala and say, hey, can you get me 2 rooms and my dog? And they go, what are you talking about? There's no way. So you're going to have a friend in Brandon or in Lakeland, where just the easiest possible way to evacuate.
Yours is the legacy station too. I mean, going back to the days when I did a show there, but I mean with Roy Leap, and you succeeded.
Some big shoes to fill.
Roy Leap. And I remember when you first became part of the station down there. And
remember that dog?
Oh yes,
Scud, which by the way means low-hanging cloud.
And
fast, low-moving cloud.
I remember I got in trouble with Roy right away when I first went to work there, and they said the dog was there last night. And I said, oh, his dog. And somebody had told me the name, and I misheard it and called him a Scuzz.
He took great offense
on the air.
I think he's still mad.
Well, he got over it. Fortunately, over the talking about Scud, but and then the radar. And
it's. I mean,
what's up at the top of that tower? I'm asking a stupid question, but people ask me that. They were like, "What's up there?"
There's a man cave. There's a 55-inch
screen, a little
Just
beer.
Keep that quiet. I think it's not approved for zoning, but we kind of stuck it in there. No, actually, what's up there is a 20-foot radar dish, and I think that's what makes our radar so good. Is that it's not necessarily the beam that goes out; it's the fact when the beam comes back after hitting rain, the dish is gargantuan, and a bigger dish obviously picks up more data.
Can you climb up there?
Oh yeah, there's a tiny little metal cage elevator, which clink, 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 clink.
I need a man cave like that. With all those women in my house, I need a man cave like that.
Swing by the station, we'll go hang out for a bit.
Smoke a cigar up there.
And the view is fantastic.
I'm sure it is.
Another thing, and I just want to mention now that we've gotten you on here, because we don't often talk to meteorologists, but people aren't aware of, and you mentioned it when we first got out here before we went on the air, about the green screen. If people aren't aware, and they're surprised if they ever do go in and watch an actual weathercast, and they see Paul standing there in front of this, moving, and up here we got blah, blah. And if you look at it in the studio and you're saying, what? There's nothing. There's nothing there but a big green screen. And yet, of course, it's obviously projected onto there on what they send out. But if you ever come visit them and watch them do a weathercast, and he'll look up there and just be talking about, over there is this and that, because he's looking at it on a screen over there.
The funny thing is, it can be any color. I mean, the reason why it can be a blue screen, but the reason why it's that ridiculous color green is that, generally speaking, we don't buy green suits at Dillard's.
No,
Yeah,
but I
no.
wear green pants on St.
Right, you
Patrick's
do.
Day.
And you get the Master's jacket, which can be a little bit close
And
too.
if you went in with him and doing the weather, your whole bottom of your body would disappear.
That's a good look for you.
I've had that problem before in the past where you had little bits of green in something, and whoop, it's really bizarre. But how did you get into the business, by the way?
Well, I just, it's one of those DNA things. It's something that has been in my blood since I was a little kid growing up outside of Boston, where it just was, I loved storms, I loved nor'easters, and drove my parents crazy. And just took it from there. Went to college and studied it, and been fortunate enough to work at a fantastic TV station for 24 years.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school in Vermont, Linden State College, which is a great meteorology program. Jim Cantori went there and graduated eventually from University of Rhode Island, and I've been here since 1990.
Yeah, because I knew Penn State's got a big.
Penn State's got a great program. Florida State's got an outstanding program as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Paul.
Thanks.
It's good
Yep.
to see you as always.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Jack. See you,
This
Mayor.
is one of the guys you got to pay attention to during storm season. He's going to give you the right advice. It's going to be timely. Please pay attention to it, all right? Paul Dellegatto, Channel 13. We'll be right back.
The job of a hurricane hunter is not for the faint at heart. These brave men and women must fly straight into one of the most destructive forces in nature. Hurricanes are born over the open ocean, and while satellites can track their movement, meteorologists and researchers need to sample the storms directly to get the most accurate information about them. NOAA's Hurricane Hunter fleet includes 2 P-3 turboprop aircraft, as well as a Gulfstream 4 jet. The P-3s fly through the storm, encountering devastating winds that can be over 150 miles per hour. The jet can fly higher than the turboprops, gathering data from the upper atmosphere. Both planes have high-tech equipment on board to get the job done, like radar and fixed probes that measure particles in the air. Scientists also deploy drop wind sondes, which parachute down through the hurricane to the ocean surface, sending back data on pressure, temperature, humidity, and wind. These measurements can help us understand the structure of a storm and the winds that are steering it. The data is used in computer models that help forecasters predict how intense the hurricane will be and where and when it will strike land. Hurricane hunters take a literal look into the eye of a monster formed by nature. Their courage helps further science, which saves lives.
Jack, we're back with the famous hurricane hunters of NOAA.
These are the daring-do guys that actually go out and into the hurricanes.
Well, not only into them. See this patch?
Yep.
That is 500 penetrations into hurricanes over the span of his career.
Wow, that is tempting fate.
Since 1980.
That is awesome. 500 times.
So tell us what you guys do.
Well, I'm commanding officer at NOAA's Aircraft Operations Center, so we're based out of here, MacDill Air Force Base. For hurricane work, we have 2 P-3s, which you can see pictures behind here. We have a Gulfstream 4, so our P-3s mainly go into the eye of the storm between 5,000 and 10,000 feet, collecting the data for the National Hurricane Center, what the center position is, how bad the winds are getting, how bad the storm is actually developing. The Gulfstream 4 is the jet that flies around the storm to better determine where the track of the storm's going. And we use these drops-on instruments here that Jack can probably pick up to drop out of the G4 and the P3. We can determine what the wind speed is, what the pressure is, what the humidity is.
This little thing here is what gets you all that information.
Now, doesn't this thing get tossed around in the storm, or does it float, slowly down?
It floats down at 2,000 feet a minute, and surprisingly, it can handle even the strongest Cat 5 hurricane. We can fly directly through the eye, but at a safe altitude, drop this at just the magic place, and it'll sink all the way down until it hits the water. It gives very accurate horizontal winds in the highest wind environment of the hurricane.
Okay, so it's going through the eye. You don't drop it through the wall. You drop it through the eye, and it takes all the measurements in a relatively, I don't want to say calm environment, but better than the wall.
Typically, we'll put 3 of them in the eye wall, then we'll put 1 of them directly in the eye.
Okay.
The one that's in the eye wall, the 3 of those are for the highest winds of the storm, so it can go in the worst of the weather. The one in the center, of course, verifies the lowest pressure of the storm.
And it doesn't get just tossed everywhere.
It goes all over the place. Every once in a while, rather than going down, they're going up. Once in a while.
When they get
when they catch the giant updraft in the eye wall. But they will survive that and go all the way down and get us information right down to about the last 5 meters above the surface.
Wow. The thing is, those aircraft, though, I mean, we obviously know whenever there's storms, hurricanes, even minor storms, these big jets have to avoid them. They have to go around them or they're grounded. And here you guys go out in the worst of them in these prop airplanes that have to withstand the worst of the storms.
Well, it's definitely something you're not trained to. I was a Navy trained pilot, and we're trained to stay out of the red stuff on the radar or the yellow stuff out of the radar. So it's something that, as a pilot, I have to learn from Jack, a meteorologist on board, to what's going to really hurt you in the storm or what's maybe softer that we can go through. So we may be a little crazy, but not that crazy. We're going to avoid what we think are tornadoes or real microbursts or any other kind of thing in the storm. So it takes teamwork on the plane and working with the flight meteorologists and the rest of the crew.
So what's it like as captain of the aircraft, commander of the aircraft? You've got the stick and you're flying through a hurricane. What does it look like outside? What does it feel like?
Well, outside you can't see anything. It's just clouds in front of you. Sometimes the rain's so heavy you can barely see the wingtip of the plane out to the right or the left. So as the aircraft commander and the crew in the flight station, we're listening to the meteorologist what the best track going through, and then once we pick that track, we just pretty much go through, we hang on, we keep the wings level, airspeed is maintained by our flight engineer, and you just ride the waves. I sort of vision as a cork going down a raging river, like in the Colorado Rapids, where it's just going down, you're just bouncing up and down, you're just trying to ride to keep the wings level and just wait to punch through into the eye.
And you're just holding on for dear life.
Well, I'm trusting Harris to do the right thing up front, but he's gotten as much input as he can from me as far as the instruments in the airplane. At that point, I take it on faith that his training is going to get us through.
Faith in your seatbelts.
Oh, the seatbelts are wonderful.
Yeah,
the tighter they are, the worse I know it's going to be.
So how significant are the drops in altitude? I mean, what's the worst that you've ever dropped?
I remember going up a matter of maybe 1,000 feet in a few seconds, depending on once you get into, right before you get into the eye wall, you get the huge updraft. So you can get a huge updraft and go up and you're just riding that wave up. You're not trying to push the plane down, you just ride it up and then you bunch it.
But that's not a soft ride, is it? It's a pretty violent updraft?
Well, it could be pretty updraft and then you get a downdraft, so you get bumped around. Every storm is different. Like Hurricane Sandy wasn't that bad to fly through, but if it's really developing quickly and the storms develop, it's rapidly intensifying, that's when you can really get hit.
And so the information that you develop there, now you then share it with the National Weather Service? I mean, how is that transmitted back to usable form for guys like me on the floor?
Yes, sir. Well, about every 5 seconds or so, or 5 minutes or so, there's a burst of data that goes out of the airplane. Every time we go through the center of the storm, we're generating something called a vortex message, and that gives you every piece of critical information about the storm. Lowest pressure, highest winds, the temperature dew point spread, which is very important as far as the organization of the storm. That information goes up to satellite communications, right back down again, immediately gets to the Hurricane Center, and the Hurricane Center is very quick to share it with Brian and everyone locally. So, of course, the closer the forecast track is to your location, the more immediate that information is going into Brian and the Weather Service. And then the other part of it is the data is going into those forecast models. We hear about the forecast models. The better information you can get into them to initialize them, the better the output's going to be. So what used to be a maximum 3-day notification of a storm approaching has now gone to 5 days, and in the near future, it's going to be a 7-day alert. That's the kind of progress that's been made in my lousy little 35-year career. So that's where technology has gone over that period.
Last question, guys. Worst storm you've ever been in?
Well, my worst one was my second flight. His second flight in Hurricane Allen in 1980. Everything inside the airplane came unglued in a northern eye wall. We had things floating about the airplane. Fortunately, the people were tied down very tightly. And being my second hurricane flight, I thought, well, every other one must be like this, so I better toughen up a little bit.
I've never been in a situation, thankfully, knock on wood, that has been too concerning, but I've been in definitely storms that have knocked you around quite a bit. Isabel would probably be the most significant that I've seen. And when you see we see it on the eye wall where you can actually see the tornadoes or tornadic activity coming from the eye wall down to the surface of the water, which was pretty amazing, pretty neat. You could see it on the satellite going out there. So.
And you're in a prop airplane.
Oh my God. All right. Well, thanks for what you guys do. Be safe out there. We'll be right back. Welcome to the next segment of the show where this little 7.5-year-old's going to humiliate me. Tell me your name.
Delana.
Delana. And what's your job today? Is that to beat the mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And what's your name?
Jordan.
Jordan. And your job is to beat the mayor too, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what's your name?
I'm Crystalline.
And what do you do?
I'm here to support the mayor.
Oh, there we go. That's my girl right there. Tell us what we're doing here.
Alrighty, we're with Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, and today we're going to do the Junior Firefighter Challenge with our 3 challengers here. We're going to do a couple of different things. First, we're going to simulate a rescue and do a dummy drag down and back. Then you're coming right over here to the right side, and we're going to do a hose carry, zigzagging down and back between the cones. We're going to take a step over to the next lane and do a hose roll all the way down to the end. Once it's rolled up, these gentlemen here are going to help you along the way, so don't worry, you don't have to remember all this. You're going to push it over to the side, run down to the last lane here, and do 5 over the shoulder or over the head shoulder presses. Drop that, run through the tube, and you're all done. And then you get a winning helmet at the end.
Do I get breaks in between?
No, got to go all the way through. If Delana and Jordan can do it, I'm sure you can too.
And these guys know how to resuscitate me when I collapse, right?
Yes, sir. In the event it happens, we have plenty of hands on deck.
And there's oxygen available?
Yes, sir. Sure.
You know, I worked real hard to become the mayor. I don't want to die and have this little girl see that.
No, you look fit enough. We got this together. It's a team effort.
This jacket obviously hides a lot. All right. We'll be back, I think. This is going to be bad. Jack, I want Jack Harris out here, because if I'm going to get embarrassed by these 2 little idiots, then I want Jack to be embarrassed too, all right?
I'm going to play by play.
But if I'm going to be embarrassed, I'd rather be embarrassed wearing a Hillsborough Fire Rescue jacket than a Tampa jacket.
That's right.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back.
On your mark. Get set.
Hey, your shoes are untied.
All the way down, all the way down, all the way down.
Your shoes are untied.
Here they go.
Oh,
Quick feet,
mayor.
quick feet.
They're
Drop it.
tied
Okay,
after the
over here
first
to the
one.
hose carry.
Now they move into the
Okay.
second
Quick feet,
lane.
zigzag through.
And they got to carry the hoses
And we come back.
in among the cones.
Zigzag, get between them. Throw it down.
Hurry.
And now
Throw it
they
down.
roll into the
Watch
next
out.
challenge. It's unrolling or rolling.
There you go. Keep it
Rolling
nice
up the
and tight.
hose. And here we go. We're
I'm
still
going
in
to take your allowance, little kid.
a tie right
Shove it
now.
down. Throw it down. Run over
And here they come again.
Over the head, over the
Oh,
head.
Getting
no.
ready to do the over the head
no.
challenge here with a hose. 5 times, and this is going to be
You
the
can't
best
beat
part.
me.
And the mayor is out of it. We got a new champion. We got a new champion.
Help
Wait a
him up.
minute, mayor.
Help him up.
Good job.
Yeah, good job.
Good job.
See, Mayor, you got it. On your mark. Uh-oh. Come on now. No cheating. That's dirty. Get set. Go. Down and back. Down and back.
just
All right, turn
untied
it out. Turn
Jordan's
it out. Bring it
shoe.
back. Quick feet. Quick feet. Quick
Here
feet.
we go.
Run over
In the
next
first
lane.
challenge, they're all tied up here.
Over the shoulder.
And
Quick
now
feet.
they're coming down
In and out,
among the
in and out.
cones. And around the cones
out.
and
Here
back
we go.
again.
All right, you little idiot.
Down goes, and all of a
Hold it up.
sudden
Keep it tight
Jordan
on the
is
line,
in the
tight on the
lead, and the
line.
mayor's having a little trouble picking up his hose. Here we go, we're down to the end, we're all tied again. Now they got to do the over the head, and
right.
the mayor's cheating again. And here they go, the big one.
Oh, no.
I got to get a picture of this.
not
and
again.
again he loses. Mayor, wait, turn around quick for a picture. Oh, beautiful.
Welcome back to the Mayor's Hour. I just got humiliated by a 7.5-year-old kid and then an 11-year-old kid. They beat me. They didn't recognize the mayor's rules, which means the mayors always win. So I'm stumbling through this event completely embarrassed. I'm kidding. I'm here with some of the guys from Home Depot, who are some of the vendors here at the Hurricane Expo. Home Depot obviously has a myriad of products to help you prepare and help you prepare your house for a hurricane. They've been great partners during hurricane season, and we've got a couple of them here, and they've got a couple products that we can talk about. What is this, guys?
This is called Astral Guard. It's one of our new impact products. So a lot of people are looking for inexpensive storm protection for their homes. We also carry a line of impact windows. Some people don't want to spend that kind of money. We have corrugated panels, shutters, This product is new. We did fenestration testing on it, as I was showing you earlier in the video. And what this product does is allows you to pass light through it when you put it in your home, so you're not in the dark during the hurricane, first of all. But more importantly than that, it protects your home against any flying objects, and also protects you against wind. It's the least expensive storm protection product in the industry right now, and probably the most effective currently.
And how is it installed?
Basically, what we do is we come out and we measure. It's a custom install program. We measure it at Home Depot. You can get a free in-home estimate by calling 1-800-HOME Depot or any one of your local stores. We come out, we measure it based on the size of the opening, depending if we have to go to either side a few inches or whatever. We drill holes in the walls, and we put fasteners that you can see here easily painted over and covered, so they're very inobtrusive. And in a hurricane comes, you just take the screw out, put it over the opening, and screw it in place, and you're ready to go. This product is so lightweight and easy to install that literally a child or an elderly person can put it up without any problems.
All right, so the lesson learned is, whether it's this or any other product, get prepared. Harden your house, secure your belongings, get your list ready. Go to Home Depot, get your supplies. Don't do it the day of the storm. Do it well in advance, and make sure that you are ready, because sooner or later a storm is coming. We'll be right back. Jack, we're back for the final segment of what turned out to be a great show and an important show.
Yeah, this is a big thing around here to get ready for hurricane season. And again, as we said at the beginning, it's hard to get through to these inured people who really don't want to evacuate, or they don't want to get ready for it. And again, it's like being on a plane. You hear the safety announcements all the time. But when you need them, you're going to be glad you know them. And that's why this information is so important.
So I think the lesson is, as we've said throughout this, is pay attention, prepare your plan, get your house hardened for a storm, make sure you have a communications element to that plan, make sure you have supplies, and most of all, listen to the National Weather Service, listen to NOAA, listen to me, listen to the county administrator. When we say evacuate, you need to go. All right? You got it? We all on the same page? All right.
I think so. I want to bring something up. I was discussing with some people the other day, talking about the CTTV crew. And I've said this before. If I ever bought a TV station, or I had to staff a TV station, I would do my best to hire this bunch.
Don't steal my people, Jack.
Well, I thought it would be a good time to get them on camera as a bunch. So can you guys all come out here? I'll run the camera.
Come on out here. Come on.
I'll run that camera. Just step up here with the mayor, and you're going to see the best TV bunch you're going to find anywhere.
Let's go.
Here they are.
Come on.
Let me see. I can't even move this camera. This camera's a mess. Here we go.
Come on.
These people are incredible. I mean, they change sets, they jump around, they have to adapt to everything that happens over there. And this is the crew. Is everybody in there? Everybody smile. There we got the big picture of Jack, the best TV crew anywhere.
Just for the record, Jack is on the camera, so if you're getting vertigo, that's why.
Wait a minute. Whoops. Hold on. Whoa, wait a minute. We're having trouble getting this thing set.
If you can see the people behind me, these are the folks that make Jack and I look very good. These are the folks
go. I think we got it.
That run CTTV. They are professionals. Everything that we do and is a result of the hard work that they do. So congratulations to all of you. Thank you. You make me, who has no talent at all, look pretty good. And you've got Jack, who definitely has a face for radio, a TV star. Now,
and I'll agree with that. Whoops, wait a minute, you can't use the camera.
I wish you hadn't filmed me dancing at Bollywood, but other than that, you guys are amazing. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next month. Jack, come on in here. Yep. All right. Thanks, everybody, and thank you guys.